And just like that, you're a trillionaire. You're sitting in your car, parking lot of a grocery store. You drove here to buy pasta and something for the week. Engine's still running. Your phone buzzes. Your financial advisor. You answer. He says the words. You sit there in a grocery store parking lot with the engine running and the radio playing something you're not listening to. And you are the wealthiest human being who has ever lived on this planet. To understand what that actually means, in the time it will take you to walk from your car to the pasta aisle, you will have earned more money than a teacher makes in a year. $1 billion is 1,000 million. You have 1,000 billions. Every king, every emperor, every pharaoh, every oil sheikh, every tech founder in the history of civilization, all of them combined, couldn't match what you have right now. You turn off the engine, you go home without the pasta. You sit at your kitchen table for a very long time. By morning, there are 8 cameras outside your building. You hire a bodyguard. Not enough. A team. Not enough. You call the firm that handles 3 sitting heads of state, 12 operators, rotating shifts, advanced protocols for any movement outside the apartment. Within 48 hours, you cannot buy a bottle of water without a former Special Forces operator standing 6 feet behind you. His name is Marcus. He is professional, calm, and extremely good at his job. He is also, by the end of the first week, the person you speak to most often. This is not something you planned. Your car is a 7-year-old Honda CR-V with 94,000 miles on it. It starts every morning. It's fine. It is also somehow not fine anymore. So you buy a car, not a car. You buy BMW, the entire company. $70 billion. That is 7% of your net worth. The equivalent of someone earning $60,000 a year spending $4,200. Your accountant processes it with the same expression she uses for office supply orders. The factories in Munich keep running exactly as they did before. The only difference is they're yours now. You will visit once. Your building has been identified. The address is online before you finish lunch. You buy a property, not a house, a compound. 31 acres outside the city. Walls you can't see over from the road. 3 security checkpoints between the gate and the front door. $280 million. The wire transfer takes 4 minutes. The bank doesn't call to confirm. At this level, they already know. A compound that size doesn't run itself. You need people. Marcus and his team of 11. A house manager. 3 housekeepers per shift, round the clock. 2 private chefs, 4 groundskeepers, drivers, an IT team of 5 just for the surveillance systems, a personal assistant, a second assistant for logistics, a physician on retainer who lives within 15 minutes of wherever you are, always. Within 90 days, 74 people work where you live. You learn most of their names. You know their schedules better than you know your own. You are the only person on the property without a job description. And here is the part nobody explains, because nobody has ever had to explain it. You cannot outspend $1 trillion. Conservative investments alone, bonds, index funds, real estate, the boring things, generate roughly $50 million a day in passive returns. You bought a car company, a compound, hired 74 people, built a full security infrastructure, and your net worth is higher today than the day it started. Every morning, you wake up richer than when you fell asleep without doing a single thing. You stopped checking the number in month 2. There is no number anymore. There is only more. On a Tuesday afternoon in November, you want to go for a run. Not on the compound. You have trails, a track, a state-of-the-art gym. You want to run in the park 3 miles from here, the one you used to go to. Marcus listens to this request with the patience of someone who has heard stranger things and explains, advanced team, route sweep, 2 escort vehicles, a medical unit standing by, minimum 90 minutes of preparation. You stand in your kitchen. You think about the park. You think about the way it smells in November, the cold and the wet leaves and the dogs. You have $1 trillion. You cannot go for a run in a park on a Tuesday without 90 minutes of federal-level preparation. You use the compound track. It is an excellent track. There are things this money could genuinely fix. Real things with real solutions that just need funding. You write a check for $1.2 billion to a coalition of global health organizations. It is the largest single charitable donation in recorded history. The announcement generates 14 hours of news coverage. Your publicist calls it a great response. By the next morning, your inbox contains 4,700 new messages from NGOs, government agencies, foundations, and individuals who now know you will write the check. You gave away more money than most countries spend on education in a year, and it functioned not as a conclusion but as an advertisement. You are no longer a person. You are a funding source. Every institution on Earth has added you to a list. The people you know start handling you carefully, not strangers, friends, people who've been in your life for years. They still call. The calls just have a different texture now. Edited, measured. Nobody pushes back on anything. Nobody tells you when something you said was wrong. You test it one evening at dinner. You say something you know isn't true, something your friend James would have laughed at 2 years ago and corrected immediately. He nods, he adds to it, says, "Yeah, actually that makes sense." You look at him across the table. He's eating the best meal of his life in the best restaurant either of you has ever been to, at a table that took you one phone call to reserve. And he is nodding at something that is not true because the money has changed the space between you in a way neither of you knows how to name. Then the lawsuits. Not one, not two. 19 in the first 8 months. A former colleague claiming rights to something from 6 years ago. A contractor whose equipment was supposedly blocked by your security team. A woman who says a car you no longer own caused an accident on a date you were in another country. Your legal team calls them opportunistic filings. Each one costs between $100,000 and $500,000 to resolve. Each resolution generates a headline. Each headline generates 3 more filings. Your legal spend for the year exceeds $54 million. You have never met most of your lawyers. They send Tuesday summaries. You stopped reading past the first paragraph in March. You meet someone at a private dinner, not arranged. You were both there. You ended up talking for 2 hours. She's an architect. She has specific opinions about specific things and she says them directly. Doesn't mention the money once in 2 hours, 3 weeks, 4. You start to feel like yourself. The self that existed before all of this. And then a detail. She mentions a property of yours you never told her about. A small thing. She could have read it somewhere. Of course she looked you up. Everyone looks you up. But the question that enters your mind in that moment does not leave. Is it you? Or is it the access? The compound, the chef, the life that opens up when she's next to you? You can't ask. There's no way to ask without destroying everything. You stop calling. She texts twice, then stops. 2 weeks later, there's a photo in a tabloid, taken through the glass of a restaurant neither of you told anyone about. Her name in the headline, her face, her firm's address on a map. She had a quiet, private life before that dinner. You erased it by sitting across from her and ordering food. Then someone from your past sells a story, a conversation from 5 years ago, stripped of every piece of context that made it make sense, turned into a headline within 36 hours. Someone who sat in your living room, who knew your name before any of this, sold a version of you for what your team estimates was $70,000. $70,000. That is what those years were worth. Your crisis PR team says don't respond. Responding gives it oxygen. So you sit in your office with the monitors in the view and you watch a number on a spreadsheet represent the years you spent trusting someone. Your mother calls on a Sunday. She sounds like herself. She asks if you've been sleeping. She tells you the heating in her house has been making a noise. For 9 minutes, you are just her child on the phone. And then she mentions your brother. Says it carefully. He mentioned something about a situation. She's not asking. She just wanted you to know. You call him that afternoon. The call is warm. You handle it quickly, easily, the way you handle everything now. A month later, his texts are shorter. 3 months later, you fly the whole family somewhere for a week, rented a place, hired a chef, tried to put everyone in the same room the way you all used to be in the same room. Your brother is quiet the whole trip. He leaves a day early. You hear through your mother later that he told her the money made him feel like he didn't know you anymore. You gave him what he needed and it cost you him. There is no version of that you can fix. Your head of security requests a meeting. One of the household staff has been in regular contact with a journalist. Traced through a detail in a published photo, the reflection in a window identified the room, which narrowed the staff list to 3. They have the name in 2 days. It's Daniel, the groundskeeper's assistant. 5 months on the property. He knows the blind spots in the camera rotation, the schedule of the morning perimeter check, the service entrance code. Wednesday morning, 2 of Marcus's team meet him at the gate. He carries a box. He doesn't look at the cameras. The gate opens. The gate closes. His replacement starts Friday. You stand at the window of your office and look at the garden. Same garden it was yesterday. The grass doesn't know anything changed. You take 10 days at a private island in the Maldives. The whole island, yours for the week. Your chef trained at Michelin-starred restaurants in 3 different countries. The water is a color that doesn't have a word. Every night the table is set for 1. The silence is complete and expensive and entirely yours. You come back rested and unchanged. The 10 days cost $1.8 million. You did not notice. 3:14 in the morning. You're awake. The compound is completely silent. The kind of silence you paid for. Every surface insulated, nothing from outside getting in. You get up, you walk the main corridor, past the kitchen, past the library, past the 6 guest rooms made up for guests who haven't come. At the end of the south corridor, the security camera adjusts as you approach. Follows you to the junction. The next one picks you up. You are being tracked inside a building you own in the middle of the night by systems you bought to protect yourself from a world that wants access to what you have. You go outside. The grass is cold and wet. You walk to the middle of the lawn and you stop. The sky is the same sky you used to look at from the window of an apartment in the city. The one with the drafty bathroom and the neighbor who played music too loud on weeknights. Same stars, same distance to them, same dark between all of it. You used to stand at that window and think, one day, here you are, barefoot on 31 acres at 3 in the morning, surrounded by everything anyone has ever wanted. You stand there until the cold gets into your chest. Then you go inside. 2 weeks abroad. Your assistant meets you at the gate with a briefing and a coffee. Past the first checkpoint. Past the second. Past the guest house with no guests. Past the tennis court you had resurfaced in spring and used once. Past the pool, covered for the season. Past the rose garden 3 groundskeepers maintain every single day regardless of whether you've looked at it. Into the main house, into the office, 6 monitors, portfolio, calendar, security grid, newsfeed, email, a market ticker that has been quietly adding to your net worth while you were gone. There's a grocery store 3 miles from here. You used to go on Tuesday evenings. You knew which checkout line was fastest. You knew the woman at the customer service desk by name. Carol, 12 years there. She used to wave when she saw you come in. You haven't been in 8 months. You can't go. The advance team, the 90 minutes, the scene it would cause just by you walking through the door. Carol doesn't know where you went. Nobody there does. Right now, on some Tuesday evening, someone is standing in Carol's line with pasta and something for the week. They're not thinking about it. They're just there, in a fluorescent-lit grocery store, belonging to an ordinary Tuesday the way you used to belong to ordinary Tuesdays. 74 people work where you live. Not one of them lives here with you.
Life is a nightmare.